So, founders, we're here with Tyler Zanini, co-founder of Retire. We're gonna talk in a second what it is. So, welcome, Tyler.
It's good to be here.
Yeah.
Good to chat with you.
Great, man. So, I guess let's start with you telling us what is Retire.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Retire fundamentally is trying to help people save money for retirement. The idea really came about 6 months ago. My co-founder and I were both going through our own retirement planning exercise, trying to roll over an old 401k. And anyone who's done that process knows how painful it is. And just generally trying to make sense or understand your 401k is really, really difficult. So trying to address those issues, today we've built a dashboard where you can aggregate multiple 401k accounts in one place. And where we're going is to make it easier to facilitate the process of rolling over an old 401k or opening up an IRA.
Awesome, man. Apart from having the problem yourself,
Yeah.
what motivated you to start a startup?
Yeah, I think for me, I've always wanted to start a company, and frankly, I think a combination of not having a good idea and being nervous and scared about actually taking the leap really prevented me from doing it for quite some time. So when this idea came about, I got really excited about it because, to your point, I had this problem. Like, I was really experiencing this pain, and I got really excited about doing something that fundamentally was going to help a lot of people, that people understood the problem immediately. And I said, like, hey, this is a really exciting thing to build something that actually is going to do good for other people. And just that's how the whole thing got started.
Awesome, man. So you have a co-founder, Bill, right?
Yeah.
You two are non-technical founders.
Yeah.
Tell me a bit about how important it is to have a co-founder, even if you're both non-technical.
Yeah. I mean, I think we learned that really quickly, that having a co-founder is just it's someone just to bounce ideas off of is the most valuable. And the interesting thing is Bill, my co-founder, we both come from non-technical backgrounds. We both actually have very similar backgrounds. Both started our careers in financial services, and even though we had very similar backgrounds, we complement each other very, very well. We push back on each other's ideas. We challenge each other. We're both very opinionated, which I absolutely love and I think is critical. Because I think we've both learned that there are things that each of us do well and things that each of us don't do well. And I think having one without the other would have been very difficult. And frankly, there are things that Bill does that I know that if we didn't have today, we wouldn't be where we are today. We just wouldn't get off the ground. When I think about things like the analytics that we're able to incorporate into the product, like we're using Mixpanel and Google Analytics and Power BI from day one.
Yeah.
And just having the insights that's coming from those programs and having that understanding of the product, because Bill has that background and has that expertise, like that's the type of thing that just gives us a leg up when it comes to really understanding and then being able to iterate on the product much more quickly.
Yeah. How different do you think would it be if you had a technical co-founder?
Yeah, it's a good question, and it's really hard to say. Like, frankly, I think we would be worse off with just a single technical co-founder. Like, the way I think about it is anyone who's tried to start a company and is looking for a technical co-founder, like, they know how difficult that process is. Like, that is, like, if not impossible, like a 12-month exercise to find potential candidates, convince them that like your idea is a good one, and then like figure out and structure an agreement where you two are working together. Like that's just it's just finding those people. If your co-founder isn't technical from the start, it is near impossible. And at a minimum, you're spending 12 to 18 months trying to find that person. So, I think because of that, going the route with Season and the work that you guys did, it gives us capabilities that a technical co-founder would not have been able to do. One of the things I didn't mention is like technical co-founder. It's a funny term because I think people have this idea of like a unicorn person who like literally does everything and is like a designer plus an engineer plus like a product mind. And like, that's just not realistic. I mean, that's not how engineers work. That's not how, on the non-technical side, that's not how people are structured. so that's like one of the challenges that we saw, and then kind of going the non-technical route and working with Season just happened to be the best option. I mean, by far, like the benefits that we got are incredible.
Great to know. That's great to know. So, but you are talking to potential technical founders at the same time, right?
Yeah. And for us, I mean, that was another thing we said. Hey, we have this great idea. We know what we want to build. Let's build it as quickly as possible. And then in parallel, be able to have conversations with folks who could come on and be that technical lead further down the line. And one of the things that we're finding is like, we are a lot better positioned to have those conversations when we actually have something to show somebody. So now we're going and talking to technical people and we're saying, hey, we're not asking you to build something from scratch. Like, here's what we have. It's already built. Here's how it's working. Here's the things we want to do. It's just that much more tangible for somebody to actually see something versus somebody who's just coming with an idea and you're just starting from ground zero. Because you just you skip a lot of steps, right? Now, if you're the technical person, you're saying, hey, the path to raising money is much more clear. The path to de-risking it in terms of getting paid a salary is much more clear and shorter. And I think that gives us benefits and puts us in a better position when we have those technical conversations.
That's awesome. The other day we were talking about the challenge, the decision between investing more in the product right now. Yeah. Just for the folks watching, Retire just launched. It's in the first month of executing the business side of attracting users, learning from users, etc. So we are discussing about investing more in new features versus waiting to learn to see if you're not going to have to pivot or something like that right now. What's your take on that?
Yeah, I mean, I always have in the back of my mind, like, we should be building, we should be adding new features, we should be starting to check things off the roadmap that we have. But then I kind of check myself, and in reality, what we should be doing now, which is what we're doing, is talking to users, validating our value props, clarifying our value props as well, and just making sure that what we believed when we were building out the MVP, the minimum viable product, is true. And that's the work that we're doing right now. And the nice thing is we don't actually need to add any new features to do that. Like, what we've scoped based on the dozens of and hundreds of customer interviews that we did before beginning the project, we built a fully formed product and a fully formed version that is very clear in terms of what it does and the value that it provides to the user. So because of that, we kind of made the very clear decision to say, hey, let's not invest more money into this until we have some answers from the users that we think are going to benefit from the product. So that's kind of where we're at right now. I mean, we're kind of taking our time. We'll give ourselves a couple of months. The nature of what we're building, retirement is not something you're checking every single week, right? It's something you're checking once a month is probably like what we would like. So we need a couple months of data to kind of see how that bears out, and that's kind of the stage that we're at right now.
Yeah, people are used to set and forget.
Exactly.
You wanted to check once a month.
You got to like set and like semi-forget,
Yeah, this kind of thing.
So that's what we're seeing. Like that's what we're tracking right now. It's how often are people coming back? What tools and features do they like the most? We have a list of 6, let's say half dozen value props that we think our service provides, and it's saying. Now we're saying which ones are resonating the most with our users, and then what do we have to adjust because of that?
Perfect. One thing that came to mind before we started building the project, even before we started scoping the project with you asked us to wait a week or two. Yeah. So you created and tested a clickable prototype. Yeah. How important was that for the product we have right now?
I think that was critical. I mean, the clickable prototype directly informed the minimum viable product that we built. It was, again, another test to say, here are value props that we think will resonate, and do they, and how do we adjust the product because of that. The clickable prototype, one being non-technical, I was comfortable building. Like, there's enough tools out there. We used a couple of different services. Really, at its most basic, it's PowerPoint that you can kind of click through, right? Yeah. So that was really helpful. I mean, one of the first things that any startup school or startup accelerator program teaches you is like just always be talking to users. And we wanted to make sure that we had done that work ahead of building anything. Because one of the things that we knew was once you start building, you want to build what you intend to build.
Yes.
You can go through so many cycles of getting feedback and iterating and adding features and stuff. And it's a bit of a trap because I think people get stuck just kind of in a feedback and feature.
Yeah, you're
cycle.
iterating with your mind.
Exactly,
Right?
exactly. Like, and we had to learn that too because that was actually I think that might be what you're referring to. Is like we had a conversation a while where I was like, hey, like let's wait a little bit because I want to think about these like 2 or 3 new features, and these features would have added like tons of scope, tons of time, tons of complexity, and then I think I came back to you like 3 days later and I was like, actually I changed my mind. Let's do what we talked about.
Yeah, that's perfect. One last question.
Yeah.
You met a non-technical founder that's wanting to start his own thing.
Yeah.
What's your recommendation?
Oh, I mean, go to Season, no question. So.
No, but even before they're ready to go to Season.
Gotcha. Okay.
They have an idea.
Yes.
What's?
I mean, I think the first thing you do is talk to people. I mean, that's the most important thing. It's getting out there. I found that I think people have really good ideas and they don't know where to start.
Yeah.
And the easiest thing to do is just start talking, just start having conversations. What's the least effort and least amount of work that you can do to kind of validate your thinking and validate that your idea is one that it's a problem that people have.
Yes.
So I think that's the biggest thing. Just start talking, having conversations. And I don't think there's a set structure to it. I mean, one-on-one conversations are the best. I mean, I found that like having a 30-minute conversation with a user is worth 100 surveys. I mean, 100 responses to a survey. You just learn so much more. So I think that's the biggest thing that you have to do is just start. If you think your idea is a good one, go test it. Go ask people. I mean, testing is a strong word here. It's really just starting to have conversation and seeing what people say.
Amazing, man.
So
thank you so much.
Yeah, of course. Happy to do it.